Evening, everyone. Welcome to The Next Revolution, live from the swamp tonight. Yeah, I came to Washington, D.C. for the big dinner last night. I've definitely got some things to say about that. Although the smartest observation I cannot claim credit for, it was from our friend Katie Pavlich, who I was sitting with during Biden's speech. Thank you, Katie. We'll get to all that a bit later. As you may have seen, though, Biden made some actually pretty good jokes about his age last night. But how funny is it really? After that amazing statement we showed you last week from the White House that they're once again going to try and keep Biden off the campaign trail to avoid the risk of, quote, age-related mishaps, we saw their shifty scheme in action this week with Biden's pathetic campaign launch video. And then on Friday, another absolutely jaw-dropping statement from White House aides acknowledging what we can all see, that Biden is simply not capable of being president. Some White House officials say it's difficult to schedule public or private events with the president in the morning, in the evening, or on the weekends. OK, then. Let's hope the next global crisis doesn't happen in the morning, the evening, or on a weekend. What's important about all this is not the humiliation of one feeble old man. It's what it reveals about the state of our system of government. The Democrats these days never stop lecturing everyone about our democracy. But how democratic is it to foist a non-president onto the country for 4 more years when 70% of Americans don't want him to run again, a majority of Democrats don't want him to run again, and the only people who really do want him to run again are his cynical handlers who love having a knackered, clapped-out, senile president because it means they stay in charge, and that is a fraud on the American people. And that question, who's really in charge, is our focus tonight. Because while it's obvious that our decrepit husk of a president is actually controlled by the people around him, the lack of real democratic accountability in the rest of our system, that's much less visible. That building behind me is full of the people you elect to make the laws you have to live by. But in reality, the real decisions are too often made by unelected legislative staffers, the legislature's version of the permanent administrative state here in Washington. We saw this most recently with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who just spent weeks in hospital for clinical depression after he'd suffered a stroke which left him cognitively impaired. But somehow, while incapacitated in a hospital bed, Fetterman co-sponsored several Senate bills. So how's he able to do that? Well, his chief of staff gave a surprisingly honest answer to the Pennsylvania Capital Star last month, saying it was an interesting moment to look behind the scenes at how the Senate works, and that even if the senator were physically present, the staff would likely be doing the same amount of work negotiating and producing policy. Great. Pennsylvanians voted for Fetterman, but a bunch of staffers are actually producing policy. Even Jon Stewart recently pointed this out in an interview with CNN's Fareed Zakaria.
Our country is held together by hundreds of really talented legislative aides. Their bosses, many times, are wind-up dolls who really don't know. I mean, half of it, if you go down there, especially the Senate, is like an assisted living facility. So, you know, it's held together by these legislative aides.
He calls it holding it together. We might use a different term. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi let us in on all this more than a decade ago when she let this one slip.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Turns out for once she wasn't lying. And the truth is, so much of the detail, the things that actually end up affecting your life, is put in by unelected legislative aides, especially on the committees where the real work gets done. These committee people, they're often permanent, outlasting the elected members of Congress. And guess what? Just like the rest of permanent Washington, they're the perfect target for the lobbyists and special interests. You see the evasion of democratic accountability at the state level, too. Here's the headline from a USA Today investigation a few years ago. You elected them to write new laws. They're letting corporations do it instead. Every year, state lawmakers introduce thousands of bills called model legislation. It's written by lobbyists. In the 8 years prior to USA Today's investigation, nearly 10,000 bills nationwide were entirely copied from model legislation. More than 2,000 of them eventually ended up being signed into law. You won't even believe what Democrats now do in my home state of California to evade democratic accountability. They pass blank bills, legislation with literally nothing in it. It goes through all the official processes of debate and scrutiny with nothing in it. they pass it, and then a year later, they amend it. But the amendment is the actual policy, only because the bill already went through the proper steps of public scrutiny when it was blank. This way, they don't have to bother with public scrutiny for the real substantive legislation. It is an obscene bastardization of the democratic process. This is how they sneaked in their latest climate extremism. California's scheme to charge for electricity based on income that we told you about last week. It was passed as a blank bill 2 years ago. And this is from the party that never stopped lecturing everyone about our democracy. The anti-democratic scheming and trickery is even worse in the executive branch. Once legislation is passed by Congress, the bureaucrats in the federal departments and agencies turn it into real-life rules. They literally call it rule-making. Look what they just did with the recent CHIPS Act. It was sold to us as a national security measure. Subsidies for semiconductor makers to manufacture in America so we're not reliant on China, or more especially Taiwan, in case China invades. But now, the bureaucrats writing the rules are using it to push all their pet left-wing policies, like forcing union labor rules onto the corporations getting the subsidies. Amazingly, Biden's Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, was completely open about it. Here she is. If Congress wasn't going to do what they should have done, we're going to do it in implementation. Oh, are you? How lovely. Why don't we just throw away the Constitution, stop having elections, and just let the Democrats, the unions, and their technocrat cronies decide everything, and then call it saving our democracy? Again, it's the same at the state level. In California, the ban on gas cars was made by an outfit called CARB, the unelected California Air Resources Board. In every state, everywhere you look, many of the actual policies that affect your life, your business, your community, it's decided by unelected bureaucrats, and you have no clue who they are or what they do. But when we ask who's really in charge, of course we mustn't leave out the donors. In Congress, Wall Street funds every single member of the Financial Services Committee that's supposed to regulate Wall Street. Big Agriculture funds the Agriculture Committee. Big Pharma funds the Health Committee. On and on it goes, the swampy circle of legalized corruption. Biden just put a doctor onto the federal government's Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee who claimed that diet and lack of exercise aren't the cause of obesity. Instead, she thinks the answer is drugs for life.
And these medications really spend their time acting primarily on the brain to upregulate one of the pathways that tells us to eat less and store less, while down-regulating a pathway that tells us to eat more and store more.
So people who do have the disease of obesity, if they are taking these medications, do they take them for life? Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Now, why would a doctor say something like that? Oh, look, Big Pharma paid that doctor over $30,000 in 2021, including $15 grand from Novo Nordisk, who just so happened to be the manufacturers of one of the nation's main weight loss drugs. So, Big Sugar pays to give us unhealthy diets, Big Pharma pays to medicalize it all, and Wall Street pays to keep the whole rotten show on the road. And we haven't even talked about the most pernicious, corrupt special interest of all, the government unions, who own the Democratic Party, pushing it further and further to the left, keeping our schools closed in the pandemic, pocketing luxury pensions and healthcare in exchange for donations and activism. Yeah, our democracy is at risk. And right now, it's mainly at risk from Democrats who are making a mockery of it. Here's the New York Times this week. Strange as it may sound, the American government can function without a healthy president. White House aides, cabinet secretaries, and military leaders performed well, despite the lack of a fully engaged leader. It is all completely unacceptable. We've got to stop this smoke and mirrors charade. We've got to end the shameless corruption. And perhaps above all, we've got to elect anti-system candidates who will get it all done. That's the next revolution we need. Tell us what you think on the new free Twitter at NextRevFNC and at Steve Hilton X, and share this message when we post it.